Today we're going to speak about how to use Solid with a software automation, of test automation. Hi, I'm Bram.
And I'm Christian.
Hey Christian. As a developer, you should be, or I expect you to be very familiar with the Solid principles.
That's where it all starts.
That's where it all starts. That's the first thing you learn in school. So for testers and for test automation engineers, if you're lucky, you start there as well. But if you have a functional background, you start with manual testing, and then you start automating stuff, and then you try Playwright or whatever tool you like. And you kind of along the way you learn and pick up stuff from your developers or from all the different courses we have. And one of the things that you get exposed to at first is a pattern.
Okay.
Patterns. For example, a page object model is a pattern that we can use to write our tests in a smarter way.
Okay.
So, and then you get the question, okay, what patterns are there? What do you want to use? And then you find some of them and use them. But patterns are dependent or are a expression of principles that are underlying.
Yeah.
For example, solid.
Yeah.
And then there's where our worlds meet. So solid is one, and dry is one, and kiss is one. Just look them up. If you didn't hear them somewhere before, it should be familiar when you read the explanation of the definition of them. So I wanted to talk to you about solid and what it means for testers, or what it could mean for testers.
Yeah, sure.
So solid. Single responsibility, open close principle, list gov, interface, dependency inversion. You can dream that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So what I did is I tried to see whether I could fit all the letters in principles in tests code that I would understand.
Mm-hmm.
So today I want to talk to you about the S and the O,
Okay.
if it's possible, and then we're going to try to. I'm going to check if I understood it correctly.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's always good to verify and to ask if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So,
because these 5 subjects, you know them, you learn them, but it's not what you do every day, and not every line of code you think, oh, this is the O, for example, but it should be part of your thinking about how you write your software, and that should be included in your normal work, right?
So consciously I want to be able to recognize these principles, because a lot of patterns depend on these principles, and I want to write nice code, and I ask
eventually
I'm like a real developer. Look at me. So why do we want to use Solid? It helps. Mm-hmm. It helps me write better code. I listed a few things here. That's by no means an exhaustive list. You can think of a lot more.
Sure.
But it helps me. It helps me be better, just like real code. So if we pick out the S, a single responsibility, written down the definition here. So I wanted to find a example in test code that represents the S for the single responsibility. Maybe you have some ideas, some inclination. You see my test code, right?
Yeah.
So this is the definition, but in practice, could you give me an example of where we use this?
Within our normal code?
Yeah, within our test code maybe.
Yeah, that's a good one. Well, normal code, of course, and when you have a class or a method that should do only one thing, it should not do everything. So you get a magic class that does everything, like 10,000 lines of code. Should be very clear what something does. So I guess for testing code, it's the same thing. You have a test and it will test only one thing and not
Yeah.
Everything?
Not everything. So what we used to do as testers, we record or type our first test, and we go to the login, and we do something, and we do something else, and then we are logged in as Chris. And then there's another test. I want to log in as Bram, and then I write a second test. But then I have two tests that are pretty similar.
Yeah.
And then maybe a third or fourth, and there's use cases for that, but we repeat ourselves. So dry is another one, don't repeat yourself. But then I realized what we then do is take a pattern, the page object model, which takes everything that is on a page, representation of a web page, for example, puts it in a separate file, the model, and then every time I don't have to specify the login or the fields that I need to use on a page. So the page object model is a pattern that leans on the S of Solid.
Oh yeah, sure.
And then it hit me because, okay, so we can do cool software. So there's one place where I can define what my locator should be, and I can use it everywhere. So single responsibility. That's one of the helper classes, for example. If I want to know how something behaves, something works, maybe I want to generate a GUID. I won't do it in every test. I just make a helper class that will do that for me, but
one thing only.
One thing only. Yeah, I'm not going to write a help me with everything class.
No.
That can do telephone numbers and GUIDs, for example. So that's where we can borrow stuff from Solid. There's so then I went a little bit deeper, dove up the sharp end, and I tried to find myself a list where I can consciously use these. So I made a checklist with trade-offs and pitfalls, so when to use it and when not to use it. Your results may vary. Make your own lists, make your own choices. So these are mine, and maybe they're not perfect, but then again, inspire us to do better. You can read them for yourself here. And then the second one that I wanted to highlight is the open-close principle. I had a lot more trouble with this one.
Okay.
Because it didn't click for me just yet. Because what does it do? Open-closed. I couldn't wrap my head around it until I realized that, for example, when you have login class, I use which is a page model, but then I didn't want to include it in every other page model. It's an extend thing. In Playwright, we have a thing called fixtures to use that. So if I want to log in into a website, I want to log in once with all smart stuff. But then if we change our login method, I don't want to add another fixture or another page. So I just call something that is called login, which uses a OAuth method, for example, or Google login or Microsoft login. And then I'm going to keep it like that. I just, in my test, I say, open that thing, log in with that thing, and that's it. Maybe I use a parameter, log in with Microsoft, log in with Google, and then when we add a third one, and then the O of Solid comes into mind because it's opened. I'm not going to change the login class, I'm just going to add another option to it.
Yeah, because you're open for extensions, so there's another option coming in there, but it should not break everything else.
Exactly. So and that was the only one I could think of at that time. Since then, I realized, okay, localization is another very nice example. Right? You write your tests with a certain language in mind, but if you have multi-language system, plug in another language, and it's open for extension, closed for adaptation. And then again, I went with risks and trade-offs and why should I use it and why shouldn't I use it, and wrote them down. And again, these are the risks that I see for the stuff that I do.
Okay.
And over-abstraction is the one that is really evident to me. So how does that work for development? Is it a bit similar? For real development?
No, it's all code, right? But,
it's all code.
I think.
Because my way of thinking is this is going to be a rabbit hole, right? So you extend something and extend something and extend it again and again, and then you get that extension cord that I showed earlier.
Yeah, and then it also comes again with the single responsibility. If you keep adding stuff, then it's probably not doing one thing, for example. But yeah, the main goal, I guess, is when I have some code, it should be trusted that it will continue doing whatever it does and should not change its behavior. I can add something new, for example, new option or something, but it shouldn't break everything. So if my code adheres to this principle, then I should have less bugs, because it's not that there are some changes under the hood that nobody sees. Those kind of things. But
open close. So then again, there's the L and the D after this. For now, we're going to keep with the S and O. Take little steps. Be conscious about what the patterns, what the principles patterns use, and then you keep your test code healthier, and keep the devs happy if they have to check your code.
Yeah, it's interesting to have the other vision on the same principles and see how that works, and that gives you something to think about and
it's all perspective for one, and the other thing that really helps, in my opinion, is that we then learn to speak the same language.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you use something like a factory, you call something a factory, as a tester, I need to realize at some point that you mean a pattern, the factory pattern, or dependency injection pattern. So it helps exposure and communication between us, and that's if you have one developer and one tester and they send each other, then it's equal to 5.
Nice.
Something like that. So thank you for now. We'll pick up the L and the D summertime.
Cool.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.